Okay, so today we're gonna replace the cutter head and this Dewalt's DW725 planer. Originally from the factory, this planer comes with a cutter head with 3 long blades like this one, double side. So once one side get dulled, you can flip it and use the other side. The issue with this is they are not really efficient. They go dulled really fast, and if one blade gets chipped, you have to literally throw it away to flip and use the other side. So the lifetime of this is not real long. Also, the planer make a lot of noise when cutting through the wood. So I was doing some research and found a new cutter head. This one comes with 30 insert cutter bites. Each insert have 4 sides, so you have the chance to flip each one 4 times. So that is really nice. Will extend the lifetime of the blades, and also it's supposed to be a lot quieter. So we're gonna start the process by turning this thing on and running some wood so you guys can hear how noisy it is, and then we will start taking it apart. First thing we're gonna do is use ear protection, turn on our dust collector, and the planer. As you saw and hear, this thing struggles to plane this board of walnut that is a hardwood but not as hard as white oak, and also it makes a lot of noise. So that's why I want to upgrade the cutter head. So let's jump right in and start taking this thing apart. The next step will be removing these 3 red screws. So now that we have the blades out, we're gonna move forward and remove the gearbox cover so we can take out the gears and all that stuff that is inside here. But before we continue, it's recommended that you take the new bearings and put them in the freezer overnight. That will make the metal contract, so that will allow for an easy installation once we get to that step. One of these safety ring pliers, we'll go ahead and remove the rings. In this case, these ones are exterior, so just like that, the safety rings are out. Then go ahead and remove the sprockers and the chain. Before that, let's take out these springs, the way we take off the tension from the chain. We'll keep that in the same position. I don't think it matters, but just to be safe, that way when we go ahead and assemble it, we put it back in the same location. There's a spacer here that we also have to take out, so we'll take it out and place it in the same place. That way we'll remember how everything goes back together. If you have problem remembering stuff, you know, like sometimes you take things apart and don't assemble the same day, and then all you can do is take pictures before you take anything apart, and then You can use the picture for reference in the future. See, now we have another chain here, the belt, 2 more sprockets. So we're gonna remove the tensioner, and then we'll take out also the chain and the sprockets on this side. This is a 23 millimeter. So we're gonna use my impact to try to get this nut out also. It comes out really easy. Then we can take out the pulley, and there's also the key that locks the pulley on place. We're gonna go ahead and remove the gearbox. There's a Allen screw in the inside of the speed rod. We can take that one now in order to get the gearbox completed out. So this is the screw. It goes in this speed adjuster. Next, we gotta remove the pinion gear. We'll use a piece of scrap wood, put it between the cutting head and the carriage. Make sure that the cutting head doesn't move anymore. And there is a safety ring in there that we already took out. And now we have to remove the this gear. To remove the pinion gear, we're gonna need a 7 millimeter wrench. Excuse me, 6 millimeter wrench. But because I like to force everything out, I'm gonna use my impact with a 1/4 socket. And just hit it, and it will come out just like that. Now we're ready to get that cutter head out of the planer. They recommend using a 5/16 18 number 2 hex ball to be able to attach it to the thread. Since I don't have the specific bolt for this thread, we're gonna use a long socket and extension big enough that I can hammer this cutter head out. All right, it's out. Just like that, the cutter head came out. So now it's time to install the new cutter head on place and also the new bearings and continue putting this thing back together. So we got here the new cutter head. You gotta be really careful with these blades because we don't want to chip them in the process. So this side is on the right side, so we will try to tilt it this way and put the cutter head through the hole where the bearing goes, and then we can get it into the left side. Once we get it in place, we will begin to do the installation of the new bearings. Now the cutter head is in place. We will take our bearings. They were in the freezer overnight, and gonna start installing them, starting with the left side. To install the new bearings, we can use a little bit of grease and put it on the outside and the inside of the bearing. Then we'll use a socket to hammer it in, or you can also use a block of wood for that. Like I said, you can use a block of wood or a socket. I have a 24 millimeter socket here. You have to be really careful because we don't want to touch this plastic retainer in the new bearing. So we have to hit only the outer part of the new bearing. Continue hammering onto the groove for the safety ring. is visible. Also, the bearing will be flush with the inside. Right, let's put the safety ring back in place. Make sure that the safety ring sits right in the groove. That way you won't have any problem in the future. Seems like it's right in place. So now we're gonna move to the right side and same as we did when we removed the old cutter head, we're gonna use a piece of wood to stop the new cutter head from turning. Now we will put the spacers back in, the little key, then after that we'll install back the pulley and the nut. So before we put the belt back in place, we gotta install back the new gear, the pinion gear. That way we can remove the wooden board and let the cutter head turn. So now we can take out the wood board. Cutter head is turning freely. Now let's put that belt back in place. Put the belt back in place. We're just gonna start turning the cutter head and engaging the belt as we go. Let's get this thing back in place. Now we'll put the screws back in place. Now the safety ring goes back in. Engage the spring back in the tensioner. Now we can move to the other side and do the same steps. I'm not sure if this chain should be lubricated with grease or something like that, but I have this dry bike lube lubricant. This for chains, so we're gonna use this one to lubricate this chain. That way we can prevent any rust and also avoid any noises. We're gonna do the same on the other side. The new cutter head is in. The job is done. Now it's time to test this thing out. Before we run some wood through it, let's turn it on and see how loud it is and make sure it's not gonna explode. Finger crossed. Definitely a lot quieter than before. And now I'm gonna run this piece of walnut and see how it works. Sounds beautiful. Wow, that's a game changer. Incredible. I'm super happy. It cut really nice. It's smooth, doesn't get stuck, and it's like, I don't know, 50% quieter than before. Done.